All right, so we are back. Last video, we talked about how to get your idea from the tip of your tongue or as a thought and transforming it into actionable items. And the way that we discussed about how to transform an idea into actionable items was by leveraging something called system design. In the last video, we kind of dove a little bit deeper into what system design is. And just briefly, before we get started, system design within a tech interview is whenever you have an engineer of many levels, junior, mid, senior to principal, describe the different orchestrations or architecture that's necessary in order to build out a back-end software to be able to scale. I think that's a good way to describe it, right? Because we don't want to lose the topic of this video. So we talked about system design and how to leverage system design to basically be able to build out your MVP and have that MVP become actionable items. And now we're going to talk about how to utilize AI in order to refine those actionable items and to get you and your team started on day one. For some background for anybody who is new to this channel or this video, I'm your founder. I started a startup a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and I sold it a couple months ago. It got acquired. And I'm basically giving the steps, the sauce of what I did with my previous startup, and I'm sharing it with you guys publicly. And I'm also building a second startup simultaneously. So everything I'm sharing are things that I'm adopting myself for my second startup. So let's go ahead and get started. So with the use of AI, there's a lot that you can do. I know there's different tools out there, but I'm still very much a fan of coding. I enjoy the process of coding, understanding what the code is, rather than prompting the entire time and allowing these LLMs to do the job. So with that being said, what I'm going to be using for an example of how to use AI to be able to get the job done is going to be Chat GPT. Because ChatGPT can give you code snippets, it doesn't necessarily type the code for you, which I think is good because if you have to copy and paste it, at least you're reviewing what's being entered into your repository. So how can we use AI to refine the actionable items? If you guys remember, within system design from the last video, there's 3 different ways of viewing it, 3 different groupings. There's the data model, the requirements, and then from there is the API design. Now, I mentioned that system design is meant to be able to understand how to scale your architecture, but I also mentioned that there's different levels to it. Here are 3 groups. If you're looking for a senior or staff level point of view, you can have several other groups, 6 to 9, but let's say 6 to 8. 6 to 9 is crazy. It can be 6 to 8 different groups. But what we're doing is we're focusing on the 3 that is the most beneficial to get you to that MVP. And briefly, data model is designing the table. Requirements is designing the user flow. API is basically, API design is how you be able to create the API from endpoints to payload to response. If you want more explanation of this, go back to the last video if you haven't done so. All right, so how can we use AI to be able to, in this example, improve our data model, this grouping? What I've done in the past, what I'm doing currently, what I would suggest would be the best route to go is that you have the idea, right? You have the idea. What you want to do is be able to define the different tables that's going to be necessary in order for this idea to become a product. Now let's think of ourselves building a startup called Amazon. Right? It's a very unique name. We never heard of it before. So we're building a startup called Amazon. That's the idea for the startup. In order to have a successful MVP of Amazon, we need to have different data models or tables to be able to build this platform. If you were to think, what would that look like? You would have a table called account. a table called catalog, and a table called orders. Each one of these tables, account, catalogs, orders, will have its own data model, right? Because the data model is what defines what the domain, which is account, catalog, and order, these are domains. The data model defines how the domain is shaped. What does the structure look like? What are the properties? What are the keys? What are the columns that's necessary to be able to define these domains? Now, how do we use AI? After you go through the domain confirmation, where you are basically saying, hey, we need these 3 tables, we need these 3 data models, we need these 3 domains. What you should do is first identify how all of these tables work with one another. And the way that I would use AI to be able to do just that is, one, I would create a prompt explaining, hey, I have an account, a catalog, and an order table. The account has these different columns or these different keys, properties. It has the user's first name, last name, email. Hey, I have another table called catalog. It has the SKU or the SKU, I think it's called SKU, SKU of that specific item. It has the item's name, the description of the item. And then I have the orders table. The orders table has the person that first name and last name that placed the order against that catalog. It has that catalog ID. It has the account ID. Prompt in that sense, where you're giving a broad explanation of the different tables you have. Right? So I would say, just to give you the quick answer, the prompts to say, hey, I'm building a startup called Amazon, where I want to be able to help people buy different items within my platform. In order for this to be done successfully, I need to be able to have tables called account, catalog, and orders. And then you say, this is what you're going to go ahead and say to Chat GPT. I need you to create the relationship between the account table, the catalog table, and the order table. And also, I need you to add all of the different types that's necessary for each one of these tables. I'm building it in this specific database. For me, I built it in, I used the MongoDB database. So I would say I need my IDs to be of type primitive object ID. I need my numbers to be of type int. I do Golang as well. And with that information alone, letting the prompt know what language you're building it in, letting the prompt know the general purpose of your startup, and what you need from the prompt, which is, hey, I have these 3 tables, these 3 domains. I need you, ChatGPT in this case, to give me all of the different relationships and dependencies of these 3 domains, these 3 different tables. And what's going to happen is you're going to see GPT within a matter of seconds come up with the structure of each one of those tables. It's going to have all of the different properties or keys that you have for that table, account, catalog, and order. And it's going to also add things that they would assume you're missing, like timestamps, created dates, purchase date, all these different things that they would assume based off your explanation of the startup, the explanation of the platform. They're going to add it, or I'm saying they like the person. ChatGPT was smart enough to be able to add those missing pieces. And it's up to you to refine it and add or remove whatever they introduced. But nonetheless, what's important is that they're going to really give you the clear understanding of the relationship between these 3 tables. So it's going to say, hey, your account has a key. That account key is going to be found as a foreign key within your orders table, and vice versa. This could connect the dots. Now, the reason why this is powerful is because this connection of dots takes time for anybody who's a skilled engineer, anybody who is somebody who's recently out of school. This understanding the dependency per table takes time to really understand and grasp. In many cases throughout my work, I've seen sprints be dedicated to defining this type of relationship. But you can utilize AI to be able to get you at least 80% there. And the rest of the 20% is up to you to be able to refine it and improve it. So that's an example of how you can use AI to be able to efficiently improve your data model grouping from your system design. And the same thing can go for your requirements in your API design, but these are two different approaches. You don't necessarily want to prompt and ask the same question, of course. You want to be able to ask questions that's specific to that group. But that was this video, how to be able to utilize AI to be able to improve your actionable items from your system design that you defined from the last video. In this case, we use data model as an example. We identified what the idea is. The idea was a platform called Amazon where you sell goods to people. We understood based off of our data modeling that we did from our system design in the last video that you would need to have 3 different tables: account, catalog, and orders. And what we wanted to do was to be able to leverage AI and prompt against Chat GPT to give us all of the assumed and correct relationships that's going to be seen between these 3 tables. Right? So that's how you can use AI to be able to better improve your system design grouping of data models. And this, like I said, saves a ton of time. I built my first startup, the one I got acquired, I built that within 2 months. And that was prior to ChatGPT being as huge as it is now and having competitors. There was no competitors to ChatGPT. Google was just getting their feet wet. It wasn't really a thing at the time. So that's this. The next video, I'm going to talk about how to be able to build quickly. I know a lot of people hear these stories of individuals building a startup in a week and getting their first customer in 8 days. A lot of those people are lying, to be honest with you. It's just a cool little story that I think a lot of them just say. A lot of people will come up with the plot saying, hey, I came up with the startup, I used Lovable, and now that startup has 1,000 customers and is making X amount of dollars. That's all a marketing approach that they use to be able to get you to click that landing page URL and become a potential customer. The next video, we're going to really dive into how to be able to build out your startup quickly, efficiently. And if you're a team of 1, like I am, or I was in the past as well, how you can do this as well. So make sure to click the video somewhere around here, and we'll make sure to give you a quick little explanation of how you can build quickly. Peace.